So we all know the 9 to 5 is a scam. It's a trap that we get stuck in for 40 years of our life. And we end up retiring when we get to the age of 70 with not much health left, not much energy to do the things that we wanted to do. So that's why I think the 9 to 5, the system, if you like, is a scam, because it doesn't set you up for success. It doesn't set you up to have a life of freedom and fulfillment. So I started 5 years ago building my own business because I believe that this is one of the only paths to get out of this system. If you can build what I call a lifestyle business that replaces your salary and enables you to do what you want every single day. Like today, it's Monday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and I'm just going out for a drive to film some content, and I'm gonna go to my Airbnb where I'm gonna do a little bit of work on my laptop, and then I'll probably shoot home, and I've got a community call tonight. So, I'm not saying that we're not going to be working while building these businesses, but you're working on your own goals. You're working on something that you can be proud of. And I think that is the important part, because it's not about not working. It's just about working on your own thing. So if you can build an online business that frees up your time, and you find it enjoyable to actually spend time on the business, then you've completed life, right? You don't even need to make as much money as you think to quit your job. Most people think you need to become a millionaire, you need to make hundreds of thousands of pounds. You see all these gurus on Instagram talking about 20k, 30k months. You really don't need that. If you can make a couple grand a month online, obviously dependent on your lifestyle and what your current salary is, but I can guarantee if you didn't have a job, you probably wouldn't have a nice of a car, you wouldn't have as expensive lifestyle requirements, so you could probably quit your job on a lot less than you think, and this is the case for most people. But for me, the 9 to 5 is, I was an engineer for 12 years and I felt like I wasted so much of my life, my 20s. I quit my job 2 years ago. But before that, I was an engineer, and I hated it because I just didn't enjoy working for a boss that didn't respect me, didn't respect my time. Made me feel bad if I didn't do overtime, made me feel bad if I didn't come in early, leave late. And you work 40 hours a week. Some people work 50, 60, even 70 hours a week. And you get 2 days off on the weekend. Is that really a fair trade-off? Because to me, that doesn't sound fair. How does it sound fair to work 5 days and then have 2 days off to recover? And in those 2 days, you've got to wash all your outfits for the week. You've got to meal prep. You've got to look after kids if you've got a family. So you never really get time to do your own thing. And it's just like in the evenings as well. Like if you work, 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, for example, then you only get the evenings to spend doing the things that you want to do. And this video, I wanted to talk about that because there's a big aspect of people saying they don't have enough time. That's one of the excuses I hear all the time. I don't have time to build a business. And that's where we need to start thinking about what are we actually doing in the evenings, because there's more than enough time to sit down and start learning skills, start reading books, start educating yourself, start learning about these different business models online, and then start implementing the ideas, of course. So you need to be really careful with how you spend your time. What are you doing in the evenings? So I'll give you an example. For me, I used to finish work at 4 o'clock, and then I would go straight to the gym, but I would only be there for an hour, because any longer than that, it starts to eat into my evening and I won't have enough time to actually put into the business. So I'd get home around 5, half 5-ish, and then I will start working on my businesses, and I'd have dinner in between, of course, have shower, bath, whatever you need to do. But the point is, I would only be obsessed with building the business. So anything like sitting down and watching Netflix, sure, it's great to chill out, it's great to relax and do that sort of thing. But if you're in a situation where you hate your job, you can't afford to sit down and watch Netflix in the evenings. You need to be putting that time into the business. There's no question about that. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They spend their evenings doing pointless stuff that doesn't move you forward to the destination you want to go. So make a note of whatever you do in the evenings, whether that's Netflix, maybe you play Xbox, gaming, maybe you like to go out for dinners, maybe you spend time doing pointless stuff. I don't know, whatever it is. But if you're not sitting down, if you're not working on your business, then you're going to have a lot harder of a time to actually achieve these goals. I was obsessed with quitting my job. I hated it so much that the only option was to build a business. The only option was to escape that system, escape that cycle. So I just became obsessed. Everything became about building a business. And I think in a way, sometimes you have to be a little bit deluded. You have to be a little bit too much, because that's how you're gonna achieve these goals. It's not gonna come easy. So, you know, when I was at work, for example, my first business, the one that was successful, the one that allowed me to quit my job, was an e-commerce store. So it was a pet brand selling pet harnesses, collars, leads, things like that. And I used to print my orders off at lunchtime at work. I used to do social media before work in the car, in my break times as well. And then I also, when I got home after the gym, that's when I would pack the orders and send them. So the way I look at that is I'm trying to use every minute of the day that is free. So rather than sitting in my car scrolling on Instagram at lunch break, I would use that half an hour to social media, print off orders, to be proactive about it. So when I got home, I don't have as much to do. So all these little tasks take up a lot of time. So any ounce of time that you have during the day, start using that to put into your business. You know, if you haven't got a business yet, use that time to read books, educate yourself, listen to podcasts, join communities, mentorships, watch training videos, YouTube videos, anything that you can do to start learning how to get out of your job. They don't teach you this in school. They don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur, how to make your own money online, how to build businesses. That's why you have to self-educate. You have to become obsessed with this game. And nobody else is going to do it for you, so you have to do it yourself. So, yeah, use your lunch breaks, use your break times, you know, utilize the time before work. You have to get up early. Use the time after work. You know, if you're going to the gym and stuff like that. Like before I switched up my routine, I was going to the gym probably about 2 to 2.5 hours a day. And that just wasn't sustainable. That's why I cut it down to an hour, because, you know, I'm not going to say don't go to the gym. I mean, in a way, if you're very much at the start of your journey and you're serious about this and you want to do it as quick as possible, you know, some things have to take a bit of a back seat. And if gym is taking up too much time, then it needs to go. But if you can continue to go for an hour a day, then fine. And then anything after that, spend on the business. If you do that for a number of months, you will start to make progress. It's as simple as that. So I don't want to hear you don't have time. Admittedly, you know, everyone's in a different position. If you've got kids, obviously it's harder, but it's not impossible. Everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day, and some people work longer than others. Some people don't work as long. Some people have different routines, different schedules, different responsibilities, but you can still find time to put into your business. There's no excuse. Even if it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it needs to be, even half an hour, right? If you can put half an hour into a business every single day, that does compound over the week, right? And over months and years, you will start to see the benefit of that work you did 6 months ago. But most people don't do that because they make excuses. And I was someone who made excuses in the early days. You know, it's very easy to fall into your habits and to get home and just feel like you just want to put your feet up. You put Netflix on, you order a takeaway, and then you start scrolling on Instagram. Before you know it, 3-4 hours have passed and you've achieved nothing for the evening. And then you're back at work the next day. And that is exactly what we are not supposed to be doing. We need to be looking at that objectively, understanding that that's our behavior and that's our habits right now, and then looking to rectify that, looking to switch that habit and replace it with, like I said, educating yourself, learning how to build these businesses, because the 9 to 5 is not going to give you the life that you want. It's a scam. You're going to work there until you're 70 years old, you're going to get your pension, and then your whole life is going to just disappear like that. So it's very important, if you're someone in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, you need to be working towards building something for yourself online, something that's scalable, something that you can sell, you know, perhaps globally. For example, a lot of what I teach is selling physical products, which is called e-commerce. and I also do digital products and personal branding. So I try to keep people building businesses online because that's my bread and butter. That's what I believe gives you the highest leverage over your time. And it's fully online. You can sell anywhere in the world if it's a digital product, for example, and you can run ads, you can use social media, you can use all these tools that we have available to your advantage. There's a lot of businesses you can't do that with, so I wouldn't advise starting what you call a traditional business, because they're a lot more difficult to sustain, they're a lot more difficult to scale, and then you end up just, you're creating another 9 to 5 for yourself, and that's not what we want to do. We want to build a scalable business, a lifestyle business, I call it, something where you can put in a few hours a day and you can build it to the point where it makes you so much more money than your 9 to 5 ever would. And ideally, you want to have a very small team or a solo founder if possible, so you don't have many expenses. It's extremely profitable, and if you do all those things, then you're set to become an entrepreneur and build a business that you're proud of, that replaces your salary. And then you do not need to listen to a boss. You do not need to ask your boss for permission to have a bloody holiday or to have time off. Like I said, it's Monday today. The sun is shining, and 2 years ago, I wouldn't be seeing this weather because I'd be locked up in an engineering office. I wouldn't see the daylight pretty much all day. And I just hated it. I hated the lifestyle around it, sitting in traffic every single day, because when you go to work, you're in rush hour. When you come home from work, you're in rush hour. And that sort of lifestyle is just not for me. It's so much better being an entrepreneur and owning your own time. Time is your most valuable resource. Money you can make more of, right? You can always make more money, but you cannot get more time back. So it's extremely important that we put lots of effort into building a system that allows us to have leverage over our time. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.